Lazzle fidgeted with the hem of his meticulously pressed uniform. His three eyes scanned the blinking lights and readouts of the control panel, a sheen of nervous sweat making the buttons hard to grip. This would be his first solo inspection mission, a rite of passage for any young member of the Galactic Conformity Council. Most were assigned quiet, dusty worlds, with barely a blip of intelligent life. Lazzle, in a stroke of particularly ironic misfortune, had drawn Earth. Earth was a mess. Millennia of chaotic, illogical development and unfathomable tenacity had made these humans a thorn in the Council's side. Their technology sprouted in unpredictable leaps. Their music was like something a malfunctioning translator bot would spit out. According to the reports, humans found joy in the most incomprehensible activities. Sector 849 clear. Initiate descent. Lazzle's voice wavered as he finally gathered the courage. The landing pod detached with a jolt and plunged towards the planet's surface. Lazzle didn't have the luxury of appreciating Earth's vibrant blue marble form. Instead, his attention was locked on the rapidly approaching green and brown mass below. His training kicked in and he steered the pod towards a pre-designated landing site. A vast, flat stretch of land the ancient texts referred to as a Kansas. If the records were correct, this would be about as simple and benign as Earth got. The pod thudded to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Lazzle took a deep breath, his antennae twitching as the unfamiliar scent of plant life filled the pod. He had been instructed to proceed cautiously. Every single Earth object was a disaster waiting to happen. With trembling fingers, he unsealed the hatch. A wave of warm, humid air washed over him, an immediate contrast to the sterile environment of his ship. His heart pounded a frantic rhythm as he lowered himself onto a patch of green, prickly things. Grass, his analyzer helpfully supplied. Grass, seemingly harmless. Lazzle produced his universal hazard analyzer, the pinnacle of Council technology. It hummed and beeped, then flashed a single green light. Relief washed over him. As expected, the grass posed no threat. At least here in the middle of nowhere, he'd be safe to start his inspection. With a jolt of horror, he patted himself down and realized he'd forgotten the most essential piece of gear. The translator chip, he gasped. Without it, any attempt at communication with the humans would be disastrous. Scrambling back into the pod, he frantically dug through his kit. Nothing. It must have fallen out during the descent. Panic rose in his chest. He was stranded, alone on the most illogical planet in the sector, with no way to communicate. The Galactic Conformity Council trained its inspectors for decades, drilled them on safety protocols, and equipped them with the finest technology. Yet, such a simple rookie mistake could undo all this. Swallowing hard, Lazzle knew he couldn't cower in the pod forever. He had a job to do. His first task was to get his bearings. The analyzer hummed as he pointed it at a strange structure rising in the distance. It looked vaguely like a dwelling, but squat and primitive compared to the sleek housing units of most civilized planets. Structure composition, wood, plant fiber, processed stone, the analyzer chirped. Lazzle noted the readings and was surprised at the variety of materials. That was decidedly inefficient, but perhaps typical of humans and their baffling ways. Still, the structure posed no immediate danger, according to the analyzer. He could at least approach without fearing spontaneous combustion. As he drew closer, Lazzle saw something that made his antennae stand on end. Jutting from the roof of the structure was what the analyzer labeled an emissions antenna. Humans use these devices for long-range communication, their signals bombarding every corner of the planet. That in itself was worrying, but what set off every internal alarm Lazzle possessed was an object dangling from the antenna, a horrifyingly red, bumpy, vaguely triangular thing. The analyzer blinked with an ominous red light, followed by insistent beeping. Lazzle's three eyes went wide as he frantically scanned the display, his translator chip's absence, making the flashing symbols gibberish. This red monstrosity was radiating something potent. But what? Was it a weapon? A biohazard? A bizarre mating call? The Handbook of Potentially Catastrophic Human Objects did not have a suitable entry. Lazzle cursed his faulty memory. Was there a section on oversized, irregularly shaped fruit? Could this be some particularly explosive melon? He considered a tactical retreat when a loud crackling sound pierced the air. Lazzle froze as all thoughts of escape vanished. From the red object came music? It was like nothing he had ever encountered before. A rhythmic thumping, a screeching wail, all interspersed with what he assumed were human vocalizations. The council had warned him about the danger of human music, its ability to warp minds and incite illogical behavior. The noise was unbearable, each note hammering into his skull. Just when Lazzle was certain his brain would liquefy and seep out of his ears, another sound broke through the cacophony, a deep, rhythmic barking. Relieved at a noise he could somewhat categorize, Lazzle carefully peeked around the side of the primitive structure. There, chained to a post, was the source of the barking, a large, hairy quadruped. Its teeth were bared in what Lazzle could identify by instinct alone as a threat display. The creature lunged against its restraints, the menacing red object bouncing crazily above it with each jarring movement. This was, without a doubt, the most dangerous situation Lazzle had ever faced. Earth was living up to its reputation. Every inch of this planet seemed determined to destroy him. With an agility born of pure desperation, Lazzle scrambled back to the safety of his landing pod. He had to get out of here and warn the council. Fumbling with the controls, ignoring the flashing lights and ominous warning beeps, he punched in the launch sequence. The engines roared to life, kicking up dust and grass. As the pod hurtled back into the sky, Lazzle risked a glance below. The red abomination and its canine guardian were shrinking rapidly. However, the haunting rhythm of the alien music still pounded in his ears. His inspection report wasn't going to be what the council was expecting. Here's what he would write instead. Subject, Planet Earth. Designation, immediate quarantine required. Observations. The planet is overrun by illogical and potentially lethal constructs of every shape and size. Indigenous life forms are unpredictable and prone to excessive displays of both aggression and incomprehensible sonic emissions. Even seemingly benign natural elements pose translations and analytical difficulties. Recommendation: do not approach. Do not engage. If possible, relocate Earth to a more remote region of the galaxy. Lazzle knew his report was unorthodox, even a bit hysterical, but he had faced the horrors of Earth firsthand. This wasn't about mere galactic conformity anymore. It was about survival. As his pod streaked away from the dangerous blue marble, leaving the red monstrosity and its barking companion far behind, Lazzle decided the council would need a lot more than a universal hazard analyzer to deal with the trouble of Earth's thingamabobs. Lazzle hit the transmit button, sending his urgent, highly unorthodox report on a direct trajectory to the halls of the Galactic Conformity Council. He knew there would be repercussions, questions about his competence, perhaps even an inquiry. But as he stared out at the vastness of space, he also knew that he had made the right call. His pod docked seamlessly with the mothership. As he disembarked, the scent of sterile air and familiar technology hummed his racing heart. A delegation was waiting, the elder inspector's stern expressions a far cry from the terrifying unknowns of Earth. Lazzle braced himself for the reprimand, but what the head inspector said surprised him. "Inspector Lazzle," the elder's voice rasped, "your report is most unusual." A flicker of something like amusement even crossed the old alien's face. However, the inspector continued, it raises valid concerns. We will dispatch an observation team with enhanced linguistic protocols. As for you, a pause, a thoughtful tilt of the head, your initiative suggests you have a unique perspective the council might have overlooked. Lazzle was dumbfounded. His disastrous first assignment might not have been a career-ending blunder, but it might have served a purpose. Perhaps the galaxy needed to understand the trouble with Earth's thingamabobs instead of merely contain. And perhaps, just perhaps, Lazzle, with his hapless mishaps and fear-driven analysis, was the right alien for the job.